Hi everyone and welcome to chapter 13. Today we are talking about the surface area of cylinders. So we are going to start in our launch today. I know we haven't done that for the past few lessons, but go ahead and get your student companion book and follow along with me as we complete this problem.
Your friend invents a new pop-up snake can. She says the height is 5 inches and traces the top of the can on an inch grid. Draw a label that will cover the whole can except for the top and bottom. Estimate its approximate area. Explain your reasoning.
All right, so we basically need to make a wrapper that's going to go around the can with the circumference that's currently shown on our screen. So I'm going to put this over here. So what we need to envision is essentially is this can right here unrolling along this line and becoming a straight line. So that way we know about how long our rectangle needs to be. And the problem said it was a 5-inch can and that this is an inch grid. So I'm going to guess that it at least goes through 4 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give it a little more and do 5. Maybe I'll even go to like 6. It's just going to be an estimation right now. We could figure it out if we knew, actually we do know the circumference, or we do know the diameter here is 2. So we know the circumference, this is bringing you back to 7th grade math, the circumference is pi times diameter. So the circumference is 3.14 times 2, which is 6. So yeah, if we unrolled that, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd be about 6. And then it said it's a 5-inch tall can, so we're going to make it 5 inches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we know if you have seen a can recently or a canned good food item, the labels are rectangles. If you take off the label, it's going to be a rectangle. And if we count all these squares, or we do 6 times 5, we'll know that this is approximately 30 square inches. So that's what we're working with today. I'll pull up the solution here. Cool. Okay, so they gave a closer approximation of the circumference here. I rounded to 6, and that's totally fine if you did it more precisely as well. But we are going to be working with finding the area, the surface area of cylinders today, and it works very similarly to what we just did. Let's go ahead and dive into part 1 together. All right, so just as a refresher, a cylinder is a 3-dimensional figure with 2 parallel circular bases that are the same size. You can always assume the bases are circles unless they tell you otherwise. If they tell you otherwise, it's not necessarily a cylinder. So if it says it's a cylinder, you can always assume the bases are circles. Okay? When we're finding surface area of any shape, it means we're finding the area of the surfaces. We're not worried about the volume, how much it can hold. We're worried about how much space the outside covers. So how much, a lot of times you'll hear people say how much wrapping paper will cover an object. It's how much space is the total area of all the outside faces. So when we're working with the base of a cylinder here, let's take a look. We've got 2 circles. And the way that we find the area of a circle, this is something you need to remember. I'll write it down here for us. The area of a circle is pi, which is 3.14. It's fun to draw. Pi times the radius squared. Okay, so the area of a circle is pi radius squared. And you're going to need to remember that for when we are working on our problems, because if we're finding the surface area, that's 2 of our surfaces. Okay, the height of our cylinder is always the distance that connects the 2 bases. So the height here is right here, And a lot of times you'll hear books saying that it forms a right angle between the two bases, but it's how tall the can is or the cylinder is. And when we're asked to find the total surface area of a shape, that means we're finding the area of all of the different surfaces. But with cylinders, there's something called the lateral surface area. And if we're asked to find the lateral surface area, we are literally just finding the rectangular area around the outside, and we're not focused on the base, the two circle bases. So we'll get into some examples about this to clarify. All right, so here's our next example, and I'm going to have the computer read it while I get our board ready.
A set of candles comes in a cylindrical package. Use the net to find the surface area of the cylindrical package. Use 3.14 for pi.
Okay, so anytime you're working with these problems, you're always going to use 3.14 for pi unless they tell you otherwise. So that's something to get used to here. Always use 3.14 for pi. But you might be wondering how this is a cylinder. Well, if you were to unfold a cylinder and lay it completely flat, it would consist of the two circular bases and then the rectangular lateral surface area section. So whenever we're finding the surface area of a circle, we need to find the area of one of the circles, the area of the rectangle, and then the area of the other circle, which is going to be the same as the area of the top circle too. So we really can just find one circle and then one rectangle and then do some math. So let's do that one, do some math together. So remember, area of a circle is pi times, ooh, that's a funny looking pi sign, pi times radius squared. That means radius times radius. And then the area of the rectangle, we'll just draw a circle here. So remember, circle here. The area of the rectangle is just length times width. Length times width. All right, so here we have pi radius squared. We have the diameter is 50. We only need half of the diameter. So half of the diameter is going to be 25. So the area of the circle, area equals pi times the radius squared. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. Pi times, the radius is 25, so 25 times 25. And I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to grab a calculator. I'm going to do 25 times 25 is 625, and then I'm going to multiply that by 3.14 because that's what pi is. And so I get the area of my circle is, oh no, I forgot what it was. Let me pull up my calculator again. 1962.5. 1962.5. And so I know that this one is that area. Now I need to find the area of this rectangle. Well, that's just length times width, so 90 times 157. Calculators are totally fine to use on this. 157 times 90. 14,130. Whenever possible, I like to write the area inside of the shape that I just found so I can look back on it and know where my calculations belong. So that's 14,130. This circle is this area right here. And then since my circles are the same on the top and bottom, I also know that that's the area for this bottom circle as well. So now I just need to add up all of my totals. So I have 14,130 for my rectangle, and then I need 1,962.5 for my top circle, and then I need to add, I think I accidentally pressed multiply here. That looks too big. Let me check that. 14,130 plus We're doing all sorts of math here. All clear. 14,130 plus 1,962.5 plus, there we go, 1,962.5 gives us a total of 18,000. Don't be alarmed if you get large numbers when you're doing surface area. 18,055 millimeters. And since we're doing area, we're always going to use square units for our labels because we're not talking about how much can fit inside like volume. We're talking about how much can fit around the outside measurements. So 18,055 millimeters squared is my answer. And now it's time for you to try it. So go ahead and try your Got It in your student companion book. Come on back to check your work. All right, hopefully you're ready. Let's go ahead and reveal your possible answers. Hopefully you got one of these. If not, feel free to pause the video and try again. And let's go ahead and check on that correct answer. It is 46.4 square inches. Here is the math for you to look through. So we need to do area of the circle, pi r squared. Remember, they gave you the diameter, not the radius. So you have to cut that in half to find the radius. So it's 1.375. So when you square all of that and do that math, you get 5.94 for the area of one circle. Remember, we need two. Then the area of the rectangle is base times height or length times width. So 8.64 times 4, which gives you 34.56. Area of the first circle plus area of the second circle plus the area of the rectangle gives us our total surface area. All right, here's our next one to practice. We're asked to find the surface area of the cylinder. So we need the total surface area, which we can do. We just need to find the area of the circle and the area of the rectangle. Sometimes it helps me too if you do this. You can choose if this helps you. I like to draw out the parts. So circle plus rectangle. These are the pieces that I need to find the areas of, and that's going to give me my answer down here. So sometimes that helps me just stay on track with what I'm looking for. So area of a circle, pi times radius squared, pi times radius squared. They gave us the diameter. Don't be tricked by the diameter. We just need half of it. We need half the diameter, which is 5. So we need pi times radius squared. Well, 5 is the radius, so pi times 5 squared. 5 squared is 25. Pi times 25. Pull up my calculator. Oops. 25 times 3.14, 78.5. So now I know I can write that measurement in both of my circles because the top and the bottom will be the same. 78.5 and 78.5. I'm almost done. And my rectangle. Remember, if I were to unfold this circle and lay it into a net, a flat shape representing the cylinder, this outside portion would be a rectangle. It would be quite long. It would be like this. And this side would be 2 feet, and this all the way around. Oops, you know what? They didn't give us the measurement all the way around. Don't accidentally think that is 10. Let me show you why. All right, so I almost fell for this trick as well, but remember that if I were to unfold this circle, let me get this a different color here. If I were to unfold this circle, this red line would be the length of my rectangle. The blue line is how far across the circle is, and that doesn't help us here. So this line right here is actually the length of my circle if I were to unroll it. And so if you remember your vocabulary definitions, this red measurement, this distance around the circle is called something. See if you can remember what it is. We do need a second video for this lesson, so I'm going to stop here and then we'll pick back up in the next video to finish this lesson.